sometimes we say that sika wantaban. Money has rings. How? Money, rings. No. Money is not part of creation, that is nature. Money has rings. Sika wantaban. Why? Look, if you put money in your pocket, more than you need, you will spend it. Especially, people will come to you with all sorts of stories. And once you are the compassionate type, once the money is with you, the temptation is that, okay, let me assist. And you will assist. Why are you in a position to assist? Because the thing is in your pocket right there. It's right in your pocket. So you are ready to assist, not because you are so philanthropic, but because you know that it's right here in my pocket and I can spend it. Now, so what do you do to ensure that you are in a position to save? What we do is that we keep just what we need in our pockets. We keep what? Just what we need in our pockets. Because once you have more than you need in your pocket, the temptation is to spend. And once you spend, you then later realize that you have spent unwisely, but you can never reverse it. When you spend unwisely, do you reverse it? You can't reverse it. The expenditure has been incurred and it's gone. So while we are trying to ensure that we as employees, we save money, we need to ensure that we don't carry what we cannot, what we are not supposed to carry just enough for your sake. Now, personal income, sometimes you also want to find out, what can I do? Your income, your salary itself is not enough. Your salary is not enough. So what do I do? How do I multiply a salary which is not enough? I manage funds for some institutions. And out of the funds, we give them loans and so on. But when you look at the salary structure and when you look at the pay slip of applicants for loan, you will realize that almost everything is gone. It's like you are living by the day. And we don't live that way. No matter how small, as Christians, we know that we have to pay our tithes. That is very important. We pay our offerings and so on. We don't come to the house of God empty. But it requires careful planning. Careful planning. You plan in such a way that you should not at any time be lacking in terms of taking care of yourself. If you borrow to live, it means that you have a problem. It means that your planning is not adequate. You have to have what we call self-denial. Self-denial. Deny yourself of certain comforts at certain parts in your at certain times in your lives. You don't have to think about acquiring almost every basic thing you need because you need them. There are some things which are necessities. There are some things which are luxuries. And there are some things which you can do without. When I talk about self-denial, you will see that sometimes you are not in a position to afford a certain kind of living. You are moving in a group, you are moving with friends, and you feel that if this one acquires this, it becomes a sort of competition. This one has acquired this. Oh, he's changed his car. Oh, he's bought a new furniture. Oh, the one in my house is not presentable. But the question is, you are not in competition with anybody. You are not in competition with anybody. So what do? Live within your means. You live within your means. Because in the long run, you are not living to satisfy anybody, but to make sure that you live decently and comfortably within your means. There's a saying that don't start something you can't finish. Don't start something you cannot finish. If your income is able to generate you a 2-bedroom and within your means as a salary earner, work towards 2 bedrooms and live within your means, because you are not in competition with anybody. Now I'm going to look at the standard of living of the average man. The standard of living. The size of your income determines your standard of living. The size of your income directly determines whether you live comfortably or struggle to exist. Somebody was telling me in my office a week ago that some of you are living while some are existing. Then I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, no, boss, you people are living, but we are existing. I said, why are you existing? We are all living beings. He said, no. Sometimes I have to even walk home, because by the middle of the month, my salary is already exhausted. Now, so the size of your salary determines the level of your comfort, the style of living that you have. So now the question we ask ourselves is that, is it possible to improve our living standard? Yes, it is possible. Is it possible to improve our living standard? It is possible. But the Bible says we can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens us. Now, that is biblical. But practically on the ground, we can improve our living standard by taking a step of faith and working towards it. Because taking a step of faith requires action. Faith without works amounts to nothing. You can pray all day. You can fast. You can do whatever you want to do. But when it comes to improving your standard of living, we match the faith with action. And what action are we talking about? Maybe you were employed as, maybe you finished, let's say, you have a certificate, a diploma certificate, and you are employed in a bank. My brother, my sister, if you don't upgrade yourself, if you don't educate yourself, you will remain the same, and others with better qualifications and education will come and pass you by, and you will be asked to train them while they become your bosses in future. That is it. That is the practicality of it. So if you want to improve your standard of living as an employee, what you do is that you educate yourself. I remember Bishop talking, was it last week or something, said that you have to train your mind. Train your mind. How do you train your mind? You train your mind by educating yourself. And education can take many forms. These days, it is even easier to acquire university degrees than before, because we have all sorts of what we call distance learning programs. We have weekend programs and so on. And you are an employee in an organization, and you are only satisfied with what you earn. And you are not thinking of upgrading yourself. How do you generate additional income when you want to remain static in your position and you are satisfied with it? I'm giving a case study scenario. There was this gentleman I know. He worked at a place where they were having evening classes of CA Ghana, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, in the school that he was working. At the close of the day, when his colleagues registered and went straight into the classroom to learn and get a certificate, he used the same veranda, passed his colleagues, and went home. For 5 years, he was doing that. Today, as I speak, he still works in the same organization, and he's almost 58 years about to retire. Some of his colleagues are chartered accountants because the time they invested in learning, the time he was passing along the same corridor on his way home. Some have built houses, some are in their cars with their kids. He's still single, not married, and hasn't got even a decent accommodation. What a mess. What a mess. So it means that as an employee, you have to take advantage, develop yourself, develop your skills, develop your personality. One thing I know about money is that though it answereth all things, but it also causes a lot of headaches. We said the love of money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money, and I'll quote my bishop, it's the love of money, not money itself. It's the love of money. And sometimes, if we love money to a certain extent, we can go and even do things we are not supposed to do at work because we need to have money to compete. So we steal, we falsify figures just because we need to match up. We need to be in the flow of events so that people will know that we have also arrived. You don't arrive at the wings of an eagle. You arrive by climbing onto the wings of the eagle. If the eagle is standing there, if the eagle is standing there, you need even to move. Sometimes when you throw even, you throw coin to a beggar. He looks at you in a certain way, but when you give the money to him in a certain way, he appreciates that you are actually taking care of his interests. It's not a question of because he is a beggar, you throw money at him. Everyone has the way he looks at things. Now, we say that you have to sacrifice, self-denial, never fail to improve your own self. Now, the standard of living, like I said, depends on your income, but you should also know that the state of your mind also determines what you become. Nobody was born poor. Nobody was born useless. Success is a state of mind. What you know. You can have all the degrees, but you can still not make ends meet. You can be a professor, but can be poor. You have knowledge, but you lack wisdom. Nobody was born poor. Nobody was born an idiot. Nobody was born stupid. Stupidity is acquired by the way you relate to people. Stupidity is acquired by failing to realize the reality of your situation and working towards it. Now, the Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh, so is what? So is he. Your level of thinking, your mindset determines how far you can go. Because I know so many examples of people, including myself, who worked their way out of abject poverty. I saw poverty in its true uniform, red, while growing up with a single mother, and I had to carry wares on my head in around Secondary Market to be able to get money even to go to school. But it's by God's grace that some of us are what we are. We've seen poverty in itself. So it's a mindset. At one point, I saw my mother suffering and I said, I have to learn, because I realized that there's no money at home. She had to struggle to pay my fees. I said, I have to learn so that I'll make this woman proud. It's a mindset. So our mind is what determines what we are capable of doing. Because if your mind is not prepared for the challenge, you can't do it. Now, Proverbs 18:21 also says that life and death rests in the power of what? The tongue. What we confess, what we believe we can do is what comes about. Confess positive. Speak into your own life. Determine to succeed, and you will succeed. Success is not a miracle. Laziness. Say, you sluggard. Go learn from the ants, because they are even wiser than you. If ants are savings, how much more a human being born in the image of God, refusing to put something aside because he doesn't want to be hungry. If Social Security were to be voluntary, some people will not contribute. Social Security, as an employee, if it were to be voluntary and they tell you, sign, whether you want to sign on to Social Security, you will see that some people will say, well, we are not interested. Why? Because they want to have the money in their hands. And when you have more in your hands, what do? You squander. Now, this brings us to what I call financial indiscipline. Financial indiscipline. If you want to earn enough money in your hands, if you want to generate additional income, then what you need first and foremost is to be financially disciplined. And what do I mean when I say you should be financially disciplined? Financial discipline means if you want to increase your personal income, you need to overcome financial indiscipline. What do I mean by financial indiscipline? You live your life, if you live your life without a financial plan. If you live your life without a financial plan, you are financially indisciplined. What do I mean by living your life without a financial plan? Do you build a house without a plan? If you build a house without a plan, you will see the type of house you will build. The Bible says, who builded a house without counting the costs? So even in building your house, you must count the cost to determine whether you have the capacity to build a house of a certain nature. You don't build anyhow. You don't build because the plan is nice. You don't build because it's a beautiful plan. You build because you have the capacity to start and finish. What is the sense when you build? You have a very nice plan. You build to a certain point and you stop for good. It's of no use. So we need to be financially disciplined. Then we also say that you are not financially disciplined when you have appetite for loans irrespective of the interest rates. You have appetite. What do we mean by appetite for loans? It's very interesting. Appetite. Just like we have appetite for food, some of us also have appetite for loans. Now, there's nothing wrong borrowing. There's nothing wrong borrowing, especially if you know exactly what you are going to use the money for. If you borrow money and you are able to multiply the money, then you have borrowed for a good cause. But you borrow because you have a need and you need to satisfy that need immediately, it means that you are borrowing unwisely. Why do banks lend out monies? They lend out monies because they are making profits. So why do you also take money? You take money because you also want to make profits. But if you take money and you spend on luxuries, it means that you are not making profit out of the money, but rather you are borrowing for consumption. And if you are borrowing for consumption, then you are likely to commit financial suicide. What do I mean by financial suicide? Financial suicide means that you are hanging yourself gradually. We sometimes hear of people taking their lives. Why do people take their lives? They take their lives because they've gotten to the point of no return. They are engulfed with debts, they are engulfed with problems, and to the extent that they live by the day. And if you live by the day, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Once you live by the day, anything is possible. So what we need to do is that we must be financially disciplined. we can also say you are not financially disciplined when you make impulsive. You go to a place, they are selling something. You have the money. That's why I don't make a mistake of keeping more than I need in my pocket, in my wallet. I work with cards, my Visa cards and so on. And even that one is for emergency, if there's an emergency. Now, the financial impulse buying is that you buy things not because you need them, but you buy things because you never thought of them. Sometimes you buy something, you take it home, then you say, oh, after all, this thing, it doesn't work the way I was expecting. Why did you buy it in the first place? It's an impulsive financial decision. You are also said to be financially indisciplined when you live to show a class. What do we mean by living to show a class? You live to show that you are also of a certain pedigree. You have arrived. You have arrived because when you see your friends going to a certain kind of restaurant, going to some hotels to have dinner and lunch, you also follow, but you don't have the means. But you try to match up to a certain class because you want to tell them that this is where I belong. There's nothing wrong belonging to people who are making it, but their lifestyles are different. You are not self-employed. You are not a business person. You are an employee of an organization. You live on a salary. You don't live on profits made in your organization. Part of the profit is what they used to pay you. So if you want to try to match up with people in a certain category, then my brother, my sister, you have yourself to blame because you are financially indisciplined. Now, apart from financial indiscipline, what we also need to realize is that life is not static. When I say life is not static, all I mean is that sometimes you have a good plan, but you cannot keep yourself to the plan you have. Do you know that sometimes people prepare budgets and they don't go according to their budget? If you don't go according to your budget, there's no need preparing a budget. It's not necessary. If you can't be disciplined enough to follow your own budget, then you have a very big problem. Now, so the question we now ask ourselves is, how do we increase our income? How do we increase our income? But before we look at how to increase the income, let's look at the challenges faced by sole source. Let's look at the challenges we face by sole source income earners. Once your income is from a sole source, you have what we call perpetual inadequacy of money. You develop a borrowing culture. Your source of income challenge also affects your health. The only way to overcome sole source income challenges is to have personal income diversification. Now, how do we increase our income? Get to the peak of your career. How do we increase our income? I was employed in the middle category. I was employed in the lower category. What do? I rather work, educate myself, and aspire to get to the top, because the higher you get, the increase the salary becomes. Then if you are a professional in an organization, let's say you are qualified to a certain degree, why do you also think about that sole source of income? You can also go into consultancy. You can even be a part-time lecturer. But some people have all the qualifications in one kind of job. They close and go home and sleep. And they complain. Because you see, the higher your salary, your expenses also rise up to meet your new salary level. That's the interesting part. You earn more, yes. You have been promoted. Your salary has doubled. If you don't take care and you don't plan well, your lifestyle will come up to meet that kind of salary level that you have reached. Now, you also explore other means like having a business on the side. What do I mean by having a business on the side? If you are employed in an organization and you want to retire comfortably, you don't retire and set up a business. Unless you want to retire and go and rest. That is a different thing. If you want to retire at the age of 60 and you are strong enough to do something else, it means that you need to retire and have a certain business that will keep you busy on your retirement. But one thing I must caution you is that you don't explore entrepreneurial skills while on retirement. You try to set up before retirement so that you retire into it. You set up gradually. You are working, but you are making provision for your retirement. And part of the provision is that I want to increase my earnings even while I'm working. So you set up your business gradually on the side while you prepare for retirement and go into that business straight away. Now, let me take a critical look at, we have talked about personal income. 3 minutes. We have talked about personal income. But what about business income? Business incomes are incomes generated by people who are operating their business or government agencies. If you are an entrepreneur and you are earning a certain kind of income, that is, you are selling goods or services, you are earning an income. How do you increase the income? You increase your business income by adopting a strategy which will make you either sell more or which will open new avenues or new markets for you. In short, what I want to say is that this program is intended to give you a rough idea about how to increase your own income as an individual employed in an organization, and when you are in a business setting, it also takes a certain dimension. Now, you generate additional business income by reviewing your sales and pricing policy. The Nigerians have a certain way of doing business, which Ghanaians need to copy. A Nigerian does not mind increasing, let's say, pricing his good with a margin of maybe 3 cedis. He will sell all out within a certain time. If he makes, let's say, about 2,000 cedis on the stock he brought, he's made it in a day and gone. You will see our counterparts here pricing it in such a way that they want to make more profit. And you want to make more profit, it means you have priced it in such a way that you are not selling. What about not pricing it in a certain way that you can sell more? Then you must also review your discount policies. Some people quote a certain price. In business, you quote a price having a discount in mind because somebody may ask for a discount. If you want to increase the volume of business you do, be prepared to give reasonable discounts which make you make profits as well as keeping your business cycle flowing nicely. Your business income can also be generated faster when you do what we call plowing back of profit. When accountants, when we talk about plowing back profit, it means that whatever we make in the business, instead of spending, we rather put it back into the business. If we put it back into the business, it means that we are recycling our own profit and making more money. Then we also increase our business income by cutting costs, by cutting our costs. You don't just spend anyhow, Because when your business gets to a certain point, every business has its lifestyle and lifespan. Your business will be doing well, I get to a certain peak, then you say that the business is stagnant. Why is it stagnant? Because the business has reached a certain point that there are a lot of competitions coming in and so on. That is when, at the peak of the business, that is when you have to diversify. And what do I mean by diversification of business? Either you open new branches or you add additional products to generate additional income. You don't go back doing the same old things and expecting better results. So in a nutshell, when your business income is growing, you need to do certain things like discounting, pricing, trying to reprice your product, doing promotions and so on to make sure that you keep in business and generating additional money. So, ladies and gentlemen, this evening, what I want to tell you is that whether you are employed or you are self-employed, your potential of increasing your own living standard depends on you. It depends on your state of mind. It depends on how well you are prepared to go extra mile. It depends on thinking outside the box. Some people start businesses, even the product, when the product is not even doing well, they keep selling the same product because this is the line of product they are used to. So you think outside the box. As an employee in an organization, think outside the box because you will retire one day. Retirement is like pregnancy. 9 months will come, you give birth to a baby. 60 years will come, you'll be forced to go home, whether you like it or not. So, ladies and gentlemen, try to look at life from these two perspectives. You can make it better depending on how you orientate your mind and move ahead as an employee or as an employer.